Welcome to episode 7 of this audio commentary tracks. I'm Jacob Walton, and today I have a special guest today. That's right, I'm not going to be going solo today doing the commentary tracks. Today, I brought in actress, writer, and director of the upcoming Never Return movie. Please give a warm welcome to Bryn Dami. Bryn, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
Oh, it's great to have you. Like I said, it's been so long. Like I said, looking back this month right here, it's been 5 years this month, hasn't it?
It's been crazy to think that we are 5 years from where this all started, for sure.
I know, it just seems like yesterday I just picked up the phone and gave you the call and welcome aboard in the series. But yeah, like I said, a lot's happened in 5 years. I mean, COVID was going on when this was going on. We got 2 Saw movies. Saw got sold to Blumhouse. And then also, like I said, we had the opportunity to work with each other, and we've been a part of, several episodes in this series. And believe it or not, you were one of the first, 2 people to actually join the series. It was yourself and Cassandra Stevens. And I think back to when the story, because how originally this came to be, how Bryn and I started working together, was we actually came up with the idea for the series of Corbett Denley would be on our show. And I put an audition out on Backstage.com, and I got several, I would say about 18 people auditioned and sent videos and stuff like that. And there were 2 people that stood out to me in this episode. One was Cassandra Stevens, who ended up playing the role of Corbett Denley, and the second one was you, Bryn. And what can you just talk about that whole audition process, when you first saw this pop up on Backstage.com, what you thought it was going to be, and can you imagine what it's been out since then?
I mean, I'm a horror fanatic. That should be no news to anybody that knows me or has seen anything on my socials. And so I mean, there wasn't much going on, and I wanted to audition, and there was some stuff out and everything that was auditioning, but it was a matter of when is it going to happen and all those things. And when I came across this one, I was like, oh, this is interesting. And it's a lot of more of working from home. So that was something that not only, it doesn't happen often, obviously, but I was also like, oh, this is very interesting. And it also even gave me an idea for a short film that I eventually made a little down the line from there. And I mean, that process, even during COVID, was still pretty much the same as far as any self-taping goes. It was me being okay, I'm going to submit to this, see what happens. You sent over the sides, and I did the audition between down here in my basement where I'm at now, and then also my kitchen. And I just remember I'm oh, this would be really cool. And I love horror, so of course I'm a huge slasher fan, and so it was oh, this would be pretty cool, and when you see fan projects, that there's passion behind it. Someone clearly loves, Saw, since this is about Jigsaw and everything. And so I was okay, this is going to be interesting. I'm excited to hear back. And when you messaged me and I didn't get the part, I was oh, dang, but that's happens. So I was it's okay. But then you offered a new character as a whole for me. And that meant a lot to me, to know I had such an impact that you still wanted me involved. And you've given me a lot of creative control and grace. And I'm very thankful for that.
Well, like I said, I'm really glad. And one of the things that drew me to this part, your character, and have you be on the project, was I can talk about it now, because there was a thing when I put the audition role for Corbett Denley. I just didn't want to say, here's Corbett Denley. No, because there was a direction that this character is going to go, and you'll see it in the season finale, those who are watching the commentary tracks. There's a certain direction where I wanted this character to go, and you will see it in the season finale. And I knew if the actress auditioning for this part could nail this part, I knew they can get the role. And your performance and your take in this direction of where this character will be going, that really blew me away, because I realized, I watched your audition, I was holy shit, this girl's awesome. And I was And so that's literally my genuine reaction when I watched that video, and I was like, because it got to the point where, Cassandra, her audition was amazing just as well. And then it got to the part where I was like, please don't make me choose between both of them. They're both so good. And I was like, I want to work with them so bad. So, but yeah, when we talked to the clone, because that was one of the first conversations I had with you as soon as I let you know that, I was like, Bryn, like, what you did was amazing. And I want to let you know that, what you did was amazing. And so we came up with the idea where, I want you to be a part of this project because, this is a journey. Because at the time, whenever we got the part, this was, I think, October of 2020. I think episode 6 just came out. And originally the series was going to be 12 episodes. But then once I got to the idea after talking with you that led to introducing, bringing in more characters and more actors and more opportunities to take the story and evolve it, not just as okay, this is what's going on leading to Spiral, which is coming out like in, I think, May of 2021. And so the story just evolved, and then talking with you, and I got excited because, new ideas happened, and that's where we came up, and one of the main ideas that got me so excited was this character of Violet Anderson that we both just sat down, and I think we talked for maybe hours on the phone, where we want to take this character, what ideas you want to do, and what ideas I saw this character going off of, and inspiration. So can you talk to me about what Violet has meant to you, creating this character, as well as, seeing her journey evolve throughout the series, starting from episode 7 to now we're in episode 20 at the time of this recording. So can you please talk about what Violet means to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, with this character, a lot of it is just me and who I am as a person. And I think that's the cool part of this is there's obviously little things about Violet that I don't know how to do. I have no idea what goes into computer animation to save my life. So last person on Earth and I'd have to save the world in that matter. Wrong person, not me. But as far as her personality and her attitude and her drive, I mean, a lot of that is just me, and it's just slightly amped in a lot of senses to really fit the narrative of what's going on in her life in this storyline. And I mean, honestly, +2, when I am auditioning or I am stepping into another character's shoes, I always bring as much of me as I can, because ultimately, yeah, I'm not playing, or I'm not Violet, but you should bring little parts of yourself into the characters you're playing. I think that's very intricate and important. So people can really look at her, or anybody for that matter that's on screen, and be like, wow, I can really relate to her or him. And it feels more raw and real, if that makes any sense. And so with that being said, I mean, creating her and building her, a lot of it's just really been me, just amped, or, I do my quote unquote homework to make sure when I'm on camera for her that I'm making sense. And, I'm a lot more confident when I'm playing her in a funny way. Because Violet's a very confident, smart person. She's very smart, and she knows what she's doing, and she knows what she's going after and what she wants, and nobody's going to stop her to get to where she needs and wants to be in this storyline.
Right. And I truly believe, I'm sure most actors could probably agree with it too. I think probably the best version of the character is if they could just take a version of themselves and just dial it up just a little bit more. And then, like you talked about, that confidence that's driven. And that's kind of what I was looking for this character, because I think genuinely, if people start playing more of themselves and be a lot more of themselves, then it comes off as a performance as being a lot more authentic into the story. And so that's kind of the direction we're going with. So before we get started with the episode, one thing we're going to touch on is this episode talks about the Saw video games. And I guess before we can get into little details and talk about that, My final question to you before we get started is, what was your relationship with the Saw franchise, since you mentioned that you are a huge horror fanatic since then, but how has your relationship with the Saw franchise grown since when you first got this role to where you are today after playing this character in the Saw family years over the last 5 years?
So, funny enough, Saw was one of those franchises that I actually never really got into until I joined this. And so after like really getting involved and continuing to grow Violet and learn who she is, that's pushed me in a positive way to really look at the franchise and like sit down and like really analyze and watch them and what they're like, what's going on, what's the purpose, because Violet heavily talks about John Kramer's purpose throughout every episode she's in and why she agrees with it and relates to it and all that jazz. And so I really actually enjoy the first one now more than I ever have. As far as the rest of them go, I think I need to continue like sitting down and like really like analyzing them instead of like just watching them, if that makes sense. Because as an actor, director, writer, producer, all the things, I very much watch films differently now compared to like your general audience that just watches it. And so I feel like the more I've actually sat down and watched them, the more appreciation I've had for it as I've gotten attached to the project. Because I used to be like, hey, I don't really care for Saw, but now I'm like, I kind of dig it more, ultimately.
Right, and I think one of the things you could probably go back as a director, you mentioned, you could see how the things, because you realize the budget of the Saw films like is almost non-existent as far as big-time horror movies. But you can see Jane's 1, I think they had like $1.2 million budget at the time, just trying to incorporate, and they had, I think 16 or whatever, how many days, I'm sure people in the comments will probably tell me how many days it was, like 13 days in that bathroom. They just had to shoot the entire movie within 13 days or something like that with a $1.2 million budget, and you see all the camera tricks they did, and Saw 2, all the transitions that, the directors would take and stuff like that. So little appreciation stuff. It's like if you go into the fan, even from a director or actor standpoint, you see something like that, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool how they did that, or oh, this is how they did that, or yeah, just something to go back on. So again, before we get started, like I said, I encourage everybody, please go check out Bryn's work. Please give her a follow on all her social media pages, and please support her upcoming film, Never Return, which should come out in 2026. So having said all that, hopefully everybody got a chance to play the Saw video games right here, and let's talk about episode 7. Here we go. So I love that little beep right there. I like how that's kind of like the callback of the entire, episodes, that little beep and that little fuzz, and then people just reading the episodes, stuff like that. Again, the one mistake I wish I didn't use my real name in the show, but since I already screwed up, that's just kind of how it goes, I guess. But yeah, a little fun fact, those that are watching this, I'm actually sitting on top of a 5-foot dresser, and so like all the pictures in the background, because it was so high on the wall when I filmed the secret Jigsaw game, it was so high. I'm really sitting on top of like my 5-foot dresser, and I got the tripod on my bed, and I got it cranked all the way up. So if you look at the very, very top, there's the ceiling, and I'm just sitting down, just talking. So, Bryn, I guess you're a director. Have you ever had stories or done events where people are just, for the shot that you want to get, it looks really cool, but then when you're out of frame, you realize, oh my goodness, like what? Like people are like sitting on chairs or on the ground or stuff like that just to get the shot you need. Have you done stuff like that before?
I mean, like when I've had an audition, I've definitely had a moment or so where I'm like stacking something because like, oh, I forgot my tripod, or I can't find my tripod, so like how can I set up my phone? So you're like literally using a mug and a small side table to like set up your camera, or like on set of Never Return. I don't know if this will fully relate to this exactly, but like I had one of the actors getting a first aid kit for a scene, and it was supposed to be in the bathroom, and I switched it to the shelf, and I had to call cut immediately because she was still heading towards the bathroom, and I was like, no, it's actually sitting on the shelf now. And so like just like it's it depends on like setup and what you have available, but a lot of times like us as actors, we definitely, you know, work with what we have, or even on set, there's times where you're like, oh, we don't have that, or oh, we can't find it, so like we gotta switch something around and fix it, so that way it still makes sense. But like placement of things can be very intricate because you have to watch with framing and everything and making sure you're not cutting off people's heads, or if something can't be in the frame, we got to make sure it's taken out. That kind of thing. I love a lot of
continuity issues on top of that. So absolutely. So
continuity was crazy.
I bet it always is. I think it's always director's worst nightmare and stuff like that. But one of the things we're talking about right now, as we come into your part just a little bit, is we're starting to introduce the Saw video game. So like I said, one of the things I actually did before we shot this video is during COVID, you know, I had all that free time, you know, sitting, getting home, getting paid to do nothing because I was a teacher still. And I actually did pick up the Saw video game. And when writing this episode, I actually had to go back and play both video games. So go ahead if you get a chance. Those you can see right here. Go pick them up if you get a chance. They're on eBay somewhere. It's the only way you can probably find them. But I went back and literally, instead of actually enjoying the game, I would literally walk around and just explore, look at the environments, count how many people were actually dead in the background of each character. So I think it got to the point where there was like 123 dead bodies in the video game. I was like, how am I going to incorporate this into the storyline? And so, but that's just one of the things I did right here. But that's why I decided to go ahead and incorporate the Saw video game in through the first movie, which is Saw 1, which is Danny Glover, as you see right here, his character going in. And so how he's going to incorporate the video games into the storyline right here. And so that's when we came up with the idea of Violet Anderson. And Bryn, I believe you're coming up right about now. Yep, but as I said, you know, this is the part where we incorporate Violet as a computer graphics animator. So Bryn, talk to us right here, because this is your first appearance as Violet, and we see a lot of stuff going on in the background there. So go ahead, talk to us about, you know, playing her for the first time, as well as, you know, her appearance and her backgrounds and her ideas there. So go ahead, talk about this. What do you think?
Well, very clearly, as I've stated, you can definitely tell I'm a horror fan, because you see Freddy, you see Michael. I mean, there's photo ops with my family back there with like Robert Englund and Kane Hodder and Bill Moseley, Sid Haig, rest in peace. You see Chucky, Jason, like all these things. And so the reason why I honestly, like, as recalling, because oh gosh, I still can't believe it's been 5 years. I feel like I filmed it in this sense to like just show who I was, and I feel like it just made sense because this is a horror fan series, to like throw little like Easter eggs or something like that, if that makes sense. And again, like when I'm playing her, a lot of it really is me. And like rewatching this episode, I feel like a lot of actors feel this way. Like I hate watching myself because I get critical on like, oh, like I should have done this differently, or I should have done that differently. And like, she looks like a baby. Like, what the heck? Like, I still look pretty young. I'm not that old. But I'm also, like, she looks like a little baby. Like, look at her. My hair's shorter. My hair's, like, long now. Like, I'm having a crazy hair day, so there's that, too. But, you know, it's really cool to see, like, just how much I've grown in, like, as me, too. And I really like how I delivered in this episode, too, because I mean, with playing Violet, I don't think there's anything complicated in any moments, really, except for, like, the recent stuff that we have shot, which everybody will see down the road here soon. But it's me in this moment, like, giving this information, and I'm like, okay, like, how do I want to do this? I want to make sure I'm, like, confident in, obviously, what I'm saying. Like, she's, you know, an animator, and so I need to know what I'm talking about. And then additionally, like, why am I saying these things, all that stuff. And so I feel like my delivery there, although there might have been moments of like me trying to figure out like what I'm trying to say, it was more of me making sure I'm hitting what I'm supposed to say as Violet. Like Violet's, you know, she always knows what she's saying and why she's saying it. So therefore I'm like, okay, will she stutter? Will she not stutter? Is she still trying to figure out what she's saying? in certain senses, yes, because she wants to make sure she says everything correctly to get what she's trying to say across without any confusion. So, and that's how just I am in general. Like, I always make sure, like, what I need to say, how I need to say it, and in what manner am I saying it in, if that all made sense.
Absolutely.
I ramble sometimes.
And it's okay, but like I said, I think it's one of the cool things, because I actually watched somebody who actually is reviewing our series. It's called Hi Zombie Kitty. Go ahead and give them a subscribe as well. They do a great job on their channel. But one of the things they talked about on their series when reviewing our episodes was, and that is just something I never thought of before, but it totally makes sense to what you hear from somebody else when they actually watch your product. One of the things they said was, I think it's, yes, you could tell it's scripted, you know, but at the same time, this is in universe. This is a character in that universe, and he's actually trying to come across scripted, prove his point from the story in that universe. So the way like this story in this series is developed is, yes, you're trying to explain a lot of exposition and stuff going on, as you see right here in the background as Jacob's going. You can tell Jacob's going through a script, like he's scripting everything right here. And sure, it looks kind of amateurish and thing, but that's what totally sells and makes the charm of this work, because, you know, it is a small budget. It is filmed like a blog style. It is just some guy in his, you know, mom's house or in his basement, you know, who's obsessed with the Jigsaw killer, you know, taking everything he has available to him and trying to showcase that in his own little charm. And I think it just works with the story and the environment and the atmosphere that we're going with here. So, like I say, yes, people could say, yeah, oh, it's just a shoe screen budget, but that's kind of the charm of it. That's the point, because that's the whole point of the series, because you work with what you have budget-wise and the stories you want to tell and the characters you tell. And that's kind of one of the things I've grown to appreciate our series looking back on. Like I say, I know it's been 5 years. People can, like, it's easy to dismiss, like, you know, fan film projects. It really is. Because, you know, of course they're not going to have the budget. Of course they're not going to have, you know, everything they want to go the way they want and the way they envisioned it. But if you see the passion behind it and you see the effort that goes into them, and I think it just really goes in. Speaking of the little thing right there you see on the screen where it says Brett Martinez, that was actually a goof on the wall where I actually have Brent Martinez, and that's one of the things we actually joke about in episode 13, where I had like a continuity error in some episodes, like on the wall, episode, I think 6, you see Brent Martinez, and I go back and I realize, oh crap, his name's supposed to be Brett, not Britt. So I like literally went back and put like a giant T that you see right there in the background. Under there you see the giant Brett's like in letters, and you see the whole T right there. But so we actually addressed that in episode 13. It's a little bit of a joke right there, poke fun. But since this is talking about the video games, Brent, is there any like horror video games that you enjoy playing? I'm sure is Resident Evil like a big one, or Silent Hill?
I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil is my jam. I'm so excited for 9. I feel like with the recent games like 7 and 8, and with 9 coming out, like a lot of people keep saying like, oh, like it's really not like the OG, blah blah, and it's like what a lot of people I feel like don't understand. And I honestly feel like what it breaks down to is because they're not in the film industry, is things evolve, characters evolve, people evolve, viruses evolve. So like for Resident Evil, for example, like it was like completely in its own right different from what we saw in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or up to 6, I'm sorry. Because we're used to the zombies and just like the T virus, but then there's like the G virus, and then there's the mold and the Kadoo and 7 and 8, and trying to understand those kind of things. But like viruses, new viruses pop up all the time. We saw that with COVID, and I mean, you see that with like food poisoning, like Ebola or whatever is out there. And so like things evolve and new things get created and happen all the time. So it's just a different take in that realm. But Resident Evil's always been my jam. I love the Last of Us games. They're so good. I like video games with a storyline to them. So like Until Dawn, I just actually purchased the remake of Silent Hill 2 because I was interested in seeing like what those games bring and what they are like.
And now there's a movie coming out in January, right?
Yeah, I feel like with the movies, it's, I don't know. I mean, like, same thing with any Resident Evil movies. I mean, when you look at the other Resident Evil movies that have come out, like, they're kind of similar to the games, but they are different, and you see some of the video game characters in the movies. But, like, for example, like, I'm really ready to see more, game type Resident Evil movies. So I want to see more of, live action of the Resident Evil games. Like, I'd love the opportunity to write and direct like a live action of like 7 and 8 of Resident Evil. Like, anybody that is like ready to do that, let me know. Like, I will write and direct, no problem. Just give me the budget, always. But yeah, I love those kind of games. I love a game with a story. I love storytelling. So Resident Evil is definitely my jam for sure. Number one.
One positive about Silent Hill, the girl that plays Eleanor Bonneville, as this translates to Saw, she's actually in Silent Hill too. Hannah Emily Anderson. She's gonna be, I think, is it Mary, or is that the name of the character? I haven't played, but she.
I haven't started playing it yet. I just bought it yesterday, but I'm excited to see it.
She's actually in the movie, so shout out to her, and that's awesome way some Saw actors can get some love in extra horror franchises.
Heck yeah.
I guess I'll sum up the Saw video games for you. One of the cool things, I will say this, the Saw 1 game actually has a decent story because it was written by the original writer, Lee Whannell. But, like I say, it's made by Konami, and I guess Konami is not known for having the greatest, horror video games, I guess. But, like I say, while playing the Saw 1 video game, I appreciate the atmosphere and the story and the way that they try to connect to the films and stuff like that. Where I see on screen right now, we're talking about Saw 2 video game. I will say this, the Saw 2 video game, I appreciate the story in it, and it's trying to have a narrative, cohesive story, but the combat just sucks in that game so bad. Like, you go from the first game where you just have your typical, hand-to-hand combat, and then when you get to Saw 2, I'm not gonna lie, Bryn, it's just button mashing, like when you do the combat. Like, mash this button here, in order to attack and kill somebody, is push this button here, push this button here. So, if you're going to go back, my recommendation, if you're just going to have fun playing an actual video game, play the Saw 1 video game. But if you just want a good story, Saw 2. But the puzzles are a lot more fun in Saw 2. But man, the combat in Saw 2 is just so bad. And it just takes you out of the game. But that's my opinion right there. If you get a chance to just go back, but like say, go back and watch or little stuff like that. As you're seeing pictures, I mean, looking at this, Brent, as you see a video, the concept graphic arts aren't bad. Like, especially this game came out in the 2010s. So, what are your thoughts just by watching this video game? It looks like an old school, 2010s horror game, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. You look at the OG Resident Evil 4, which 4 is just immaculate. But then you look at the remake of it, and it's just stunning. The graphics have just gotten so crazy good for just every game in general. But for the earlier 2000s, that's pretty good, and its own general kind of look anyways. So it definitely makes sense for it. And I feel like for Saw, it looks grittier and messier in its own right, so it just makes sense for that franchise in general.
If, as we're recording this in November of 2025, if Blumhouse, you all decide to do another Saw video game, I'll go buy it. I'll still do it. If you get, the actors and continue the storylines and stuff like that, that'd be something that I'm sure Saw fans would still jump on board and stuff like that. But I decided to, I was really happy to incorporate, the video games into our story because, again, that's one of the things where Saw fans talk about, are the video games canon? And in my opinion, I think it's easy to say, no, they're not. It's just a little fun project. But when you have, Lee Whannell, who helped write the first game, and, that's the original writer of the franchise, and it's a way, to bring characters back and to answer questions, because that's one of the cool things about our series in general is that, fans have questions that they would like answered to, and that's one of the things, the hard drivers of this series right here of the Jigsaw Blogs, where fans get a chance to answer questions that they have from the movies. And so I think it's just a cool way, just to tell your fans, hey, this is a way for us to continue the story and say like what would one fan do if they had this. And like I said, I went back. Yes, I counted 12 people that survived the game right there, but I did count. I can't believe this, Bryn. 123 dead bodies in both video games just by all I could find. So as we wrap this episode up, Bryn, thank you so much for joining. We'll definitely have you back for episode 13 for sure. So anything else you want to say before we go, Bryn?
I just thank you for having me. It's been a wild ride, and there's still more to tell, so ready to tell it.
Absolutely. So, guys, thank you so much for joining. Stick around for episode 8, and we'll see you in episode 13. So, take care, guys.